If World War III breaks out, where would you go to truly be safe? In a world of rising tensions, shifting alliances, and escalating threats, the question isn't just what happens, but where can one find refuge? Today, we explore the countries that could offer safety, stability, and shelter when chaos reigns. Using geography, political neutrality, resource resilience, and diplomatic history, we map out the likely safe havens in a global conflict. First, imagine the worst-case scenario. Multiple major powers at war, nuclear or conventional. Trade routes cut, supply chains collapsing, food, energy, and water under threat. Under those conditions, some places would suffer immediately. Others would fare better because of distance, neutrality, self-sufficiency, or past experience. We look at the qualities that make a safe haven, then examine specific countries that may meet those criteria. The first quality is geographical isolation. Remote islands or landlocked high-altitude nations far from major conflict zones are less likely to be directly struck. The second is political neutrality or non-alignment. Countries that have a tradition of staying out of great power rivalries may avoid being a target. The third is self-sufficiency in food, water, and energy. Places that produce their own power, grow their own food, have stable supply of clean water. Fourth is strong governance, rule of law, and societal resilience. Places with institutions that can respond to crisis, emergency services, medical infrastructure, social trust. With those qualities in mind, let's consider the top candidates. New Zealand often comes up, far across the Pacific, isolated, with little strategic value for invading powers. It has fertile soil, abundant water, stable energy options, hydro, geothermal, and strong democratic institutions. During conflict, it could sustain itself better than many. The risk of being drawn in is low. Iceland is another strong contender. Far north in the Atlantic, minimal military bases, small population, strong social unity, geothermal energy provides local, sustainable power. Food imports are high, but fisheries are rich and could help. In a global war, Iceland's isolation may protect it, though harsh weather and supply route vulnerabilities remain a concern. Switzerland has long been known for neutrality, landlocked, well-fortified historically, strong banking institutions, excellent medical infrastructure. Though small, its mountainous terrain provides defense advantages. Switzerland might be a haven for finance, refugees, or key diplomatic channels. However, import reliance on some materials and energy could be a downside if supply lines are cut. Bhutan, high up in the Himalayas, quiet, remote, historically non-aligned. Its small size and rugged terrain give natural protection. Agriculture is mostly local. The low population density means less chance of mass casualties. Communication and medical systems are limited, but that might be tolerable in such an environment. Canada, especially its northern territories, could offer safety. Large landmass, many remote regions, strong institutions, abundant natural resources. It has agricultural sectors, freshwater systems, and potential for independent energy generation, hydro, wind. However, proximity to the U.S. and North American conflict zones could bring spillover risk. Australia is another, isolated island continent, strong rule of law, decent infrastructure, natural resources. Coastal cities may be at risk, but interior areas might serve as refuges. New trade routes with Asia, strong food production, energy independence, solar, wind give Australia resilience. Norway offers safety for parts of its country. Remote fjords, northern regions, access to resources. It has strong social systems and broad public health infrastructure. While NATO member, certain remote areas might be less exposed to direct warfare depending on the scenario. Chile, especially southern Chile and Patagonia, has geographic distance from many conflict theaters, wide open land, limited strategic targets. Self-sufficiency in some food production, stable government, and less global military interest make it more likely to avoid frontline destruction. Other places include Uruguay, which is politically stable, small population, comparatively isolated, strong democratic traditions. Costa Rica, famous for abolishing its military, may benefit from lack of strategic military value to other nations. Iceland was mentioned, but Faroes, some remote archipelagos or islands in the Pacific or Atlantic, could also serve. But no country is perfect. Even safe havens will face challenges. Disrupted trade, refugee influx, inflation, supply shortages. Isolation can bring dependency on imports for advanced medical equipment or specialized goods. Energy generation might face constraints. Communication with the outside world might degrade. Governments might be tested by internal unrest if basic supplies and trust break down. Let's imagine how a scenario unfolds in one of these countries. You wake up, trade routes disrupted, fuel prices have spiked, imported foods are harder to get. Authorities ration goods. You rely more on locally grown produce. Electricity and water still work because local infrastructure and renewable sources can be maintained. The government implements emergency protocols. Social systems kick in community kitchens, decentralized medical treatment, civilian volunteering. Meanwhile, the country's neutrality is respected because invading forces see no strategic gain, logistical difficulties, or strong resistance. The global ripple effects are enormous. Whole continents depending on imports suffer inflation of food prices. Energy crises may hit countries whose consumption is high. Maritime nations lose supply chains. Developing nations face shortages and humanitarian crises. Political power shifts. Global influence moves toward those nations that can remain stable neighbors, aid donors, neutral states, resource-producing independent nations. Trade blocs might shift. Asia, Southern Hemisphere may come closer to those safe havens for sourcing goods, energy, or refuge. The world could revalue what it means to be resilient. What about diplomacy? In such a crisis, neutral countries become major hubs for negotiation, for peace talks, for asylum. International law and global institutions like the UN, Red Cross, NGOs become lifelines. Safe haven nations may host refugees, act as mediators, even offer sanctuary. Their ability to stay open, stable, and benevolent could define their global reputation for decades. By contrast, countries with high strategic or symbolic value military bases, major infrastructure, size, alliance commitments are likely to be targeted. Even democratic nations might be drawn in because defending allies or strategic resources, proximity to conflict zones, dependency on imports, weak governance, porous borders. These become vulnerabilities. In sum, if World War III ever begins, some countries stand a better chance than others to provide real refuge. Nations like New Zealand, Iceland, Switzerland, Bhutan, remote Canada, parts of Australia, southern Chile, Uruguay, all may offer relative safety. They won't be untouched, but compared to frontline states, they may avoid the worst devastation. For you watching this, think about your priorities. Distance, neutrality, self-sufficiency. If conflict ever looms, these factors matter. Where do you want to live? What systems do you trust? And whether or not such war ever comes, preparing mentally, supporting diplomacy, and pushing for stronger conflict prevention are our real defenses. If you found this exploration meaningful, please like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth analysis of global issues. Let's stay aware, stay hopeful, and care about building a safer world.